I have to say this. Bobby J's in the house.
OK, good to see you.
How are you?
Very well, thank you.
How's it looking?
Well, I am continuing to work hard. It's neck and neck, and I'm getting out across the country, meeting members of the party, speaking to the general public, continuing to set out my vision of how we change the party, change the country.
You are disappointed that Kemi Badenoch doesn't want to talk about policy?
Well, I do think that it is important when you've got a deeply sceptical public. We've just lost our worst ever election defeat. I think you have to respond to that with substance, with a plan today, not just a promise of one tomorrow. So whether it's on the NHS, the economy, immigration, the big challenges facing our country, I have set out very specific, substantial policies, the way in which I think we begin to rebuild the public's trust.
Do you not think she has a point, Kemi Badenoch, that actually it doesn't matter what your policies are at the moment because you're a long way away from the next election? What matters more is about uniting the party.
Well, I think unity is incredibly important, and that's why I've tried to bring together the different wings of our party. I've said, for example, that my friend James Cleverly would be the deputy leader of our party if I was lucky enough to win. I've said we should bring together, whether it's Andy Street, Penny Mordaunt, Jacob Rees-Mogg, all of the best players in the Conservative family, get them on the pitch, get them working together. I also think, however, that you need to marry that unity and sense of principles and values with serious, credible policies on the big issues, whether it's immigration, leaving the ECHR, capping immigration in the tens of thousands, or on the economy, having a plan to get young people real skills through apprenticeships, not just low-value degrees, cheap and reliable energy to fire up our economy. I think you have to have substance, and you do need a plan today, not just the promise of one tomorrow.
Suella Braverman, you have her backing. Is that a bind or a bonus?
I've said very clearly, Kate, I want all of the Conservative family to come together, and I think I'm a natural unifier. That's the kind of leader that I would be. And so if I could bring together Penny and Andy Street with Suella and Jacob Rees-Mogg, that's a good thing, isn't it? Because the public are turned off by the disunity and the squabbling that they've seen in the Conservative Party in recent years. I want to end that once and for all and present the public with professionalism and competence and unity. Whoever
eventually wins will not be in place for the budget. So how are you going to react to the budget?
Well, I wish that the new leader, whether it was myself or Kemi, was in place, but that's not going to happen. The rules have been set long in advance. So I will do whatever I can in advance to set out where I think we should be going with our economy, and then to be holding Rachel Reeves to account. I mean, for example, today we hear that she's going to say at the IMF that she's going to change the fiscal rules, something that the Labour Party said they were not going to do before the general election, something that's going to mean more debt, making the public finances ever more unsustainable, and spending that money on vanity projects like Ed Miliband's energy company, an energy company that doesn't even produce any energy. That is a waste of taxpayers' money that's going to be borne for generations to come through higher debt for our country. If you're going to invest, invest in things that real people care about, like building hospitals or roads, things that will drive productivity forward and ensure better public services.
As a party.
Well, we did take forward the building of 40 new hospitals. The Labour Party have come into office. They've chosen not to proceed with that and to spend that money on things like giving well-paid train drivers £10,000 extra a year when they're already earning 60 or 70 grand a year. Those are bad choices.
Get to work.
Well, I think we should be spending more on our roads. Places like I represent in North Nottinghamshire, people, including on very low incomes, they need a car. Labour Party seem to have a very metropolitan attitude where they don't want to invest in cars. I think they're just about to scrap the £2 bus fare, for example. Well, I mean, why do that? Millions of people in our country care about that. I'm sure Andy Burnham would have a different view if he was sat here, the Greater Manchester Mayor.
Do you want to wade into this situation concerning Labour and Kamala Harris?
Well, if I was the Labour Party, where they've got a budget that's in a mess, they've lost their chief of staff, they're tanking in the polls, I would want my staffers in London trying to fix this government's problems, not wading in a foreign election in the United States. The US is one of our most important allies. Whoever is leader of our country needs to have a good relationship with whoever is president of the United States. So it seems very unwise to me to be literally sending your staff to back one of the campaigns.
But do you object in principle to the fact that Labour Party supporters and Labour workers have gone to the United States to get involved in campaigning for Kamala Harris?
Well, people have gone and volunteered on political campaigns for many years. But it's very...
I have no objection to that.
Well, I've no objection to that, but what seems to have happened here is the chief executive of the Labour Party has put out a call to arms on LinkedIn saying that 100 or more current or former Labour staffers are going in some kind of formal capacity to weigh in behind one of the two candidates. That has resulted in the other candidate, who may win, is currently the favourite, according to the bookies, literally taking legal action against the other contender and the Labour Party in the United States. This is a mess, clearly, and it risks the UK's relationship with the future President of the United States. Whatever your politics are, whatever you think about Kamala Harris or Donald Trump, the UK needs to have a strong relationship with the next President of the United States. Our foreign policy, our defence and security, our trading relationship is critical to this country. If I was leader of the Conservative Party, if I was a future Prime Minister, I would want to build the strongest possible relationship with whoever that person is in the US.
But 'twas ever thus, wasn't it? I mean, I was looking back in 1992, John Major, he says he didn't personally sign it off. He was supporting George W. Bush, H.W. Bush, of course, and there was some dirty tricks involving Bill Clinton of whether he'd applied for British citizenship while he was a student at Oxford to avoid the draft to Vietnam. So there's always dirty tricks and skullduggery.
Well, I think the Conservative Party lived to regret that, didn't they?
Yes,
because
they did.
Bill Clinton was elected and the relationship got off to a poor start as a result. So let's learn the lessons.
In the long term, it was fine.
Let's learn the lessons from that.
That's the point.
Well, I don't think it is at all wise for us to be sending our own staff to go and help one of the two campaigns. I think Keir Starmer himself would concede that today.
OK, I want you to talk to me in more detail about Wretch 32. I'm sure that you're very aware of who he is. He's a rapper. He was on the programme yesterday talking about Chris Kaba, who died in 2022. And as we know, the officer involved who shot him was cleared by the Old Bailey in a very short period of time. He says, I don't think justice has been done. He says the police are good at villainising a person, turning people against a person. These things are planned. They're detailed operations. You go through a due process to be in the field. For you to be trained professional, it doesn't allow you to assassinate someone, execute someone. If the police are policing the police, we're never going to get the results we want.
OK, I can't believe on national TV you're giving airtime to a conspiracy theory like that. Chris Kaba was on a one-man crime spree. He was stabbing, he was shooting, he was committing criminality on our streets. London is a safer place without this man, and Sergeant Blake is a hero. He is someone, like all our firearms officers, who put themselves literally in the line of fire, have to make split-second decisions, an immensely challenging job. His name has been dragged through the mud. His family is now, I believe, in hiding as a result of a bounty being put on his head. We should be doing everything we can to support him, enable him to get his life back together, to return to active service, if that's what he wants. We should not be making his life any harder by spreading misinformation like that. And frankly, I want the IOPC to drop this suggestion that he will be investigated for gross misconduct. He's a good man doing his job. He's been cleared by a jury, and he should be able to get on with his life.
Something is broken when a part of our community feels that that was an assassination and...
but it wasn't an assassination.
But that's my point. Something is broken.
I disagree. I think
that way.
It is a reflection on that man, not on the police. Sergeant Blake has just gone...
He was representing...
Sergeant Blake has gone...
the black community. He was here to talk about...
I don't know if he's representing anyone other than himself. I don't want there to be different communities in our country. I want the law to be enforced without fear or favour. That's what matters here. Sergeant Blake was doing his job. He shouldn't have been tried. The case was determined in less than 3 hours by the jury. They found him not guilty. We should accept that judgment and move on. Sergeant Blake now should have his full name restored. He should be able to return to work if he wants to. And individuals like that, frankly, should shut up.
We've heard from Yvette Cooper. She says police officers who take fatal shots will now remain anonymous unless convicted of a crime. Do you agree with that?
I do, and I'd like to go further. I'd like to see that the bar for criminal prosecutions for firearms officers be raised significantly. Because, as I say, I think they do an extremely challenging job. There are relatively few people who are willing to come forward and do that job today. And those that do should not have to be worried that when they make those split-second decisions, they'll then get dragged through the mud and through the courts as a result. So I welcome the fact that Yvette Cooper is going to undertake a review of this process and see if there is a route whereby a significantly higher bar is set before prosecutions are brought against individuals like Sergeant Blake in the future.
And a thought before I let you go, Sadiq Khan said that he was mourning Chris Kaba's death.
Well, that's another misjudgment by Sadiq Khan. Nobody should mourn the death of this individual. Look at what we've learnt about him now. Look at the videos that we've seen of him, shooting, stabbing. You know, this is somebody who was a danger to people across this city. London is a safer place without this man. What Sadiq Khan should be doing, given that he has responsibility for the police in this city, is getting behind good police officers like Sergeant Blake, backing them to the hilt and making sure they can get on with their lives and their service to our country.
Do you have some sympathy for Chris Kaba's mother as she mourns her son?
We all feel sympathy for mums, for dads, for family members when somebody dies. But this is an individual who was a bad person. He was committing serious crimes. He was a gangster. London is a better place without him.
Thank you. And when do we know whether you're leader or not?
A week on Saturday.
OK. And it's close?
I think it's absolutely neck and neck. That's why I'm on your show, Kate, and I'm trying to speak to you.
Anyway.
Well, I enjoy coming on anyway, don't get me wrong. But I want to talk to your readers and your listeners.